The lesson, the Chinese statue. We are here in page number 61. We have learned that a little Chinese statue was brought to that auctioneer's room, and it is narrated by the narrator how the statue reached there, and the history behind it is narrated in this story. And we have been told about a man who was under Queen Victoria. He was in the diplomatic service, who has reached Peking, China, as a minister there. While he was appointed as a minister there, he was using all his time, as he had very much interest in the art of China. He wanted to know more and more about the art of China, so he used all his time to visit different parts of the country and admiring the art. And we are there in page number 61. He was accompanied with the interpreter, Mandarin from the palace, and he went with Alexander wherever he went as a guide. On one such journey, passing through the muddy streets of a small village with but a few houses called Ha Chuan, a distance of some 50 miles from Peking. So Alexander chanced upon an old craftsman's working place. So he was visiting many villages in his 3 years of work there. And once he had a chance to visit a village named Hali Chuan, and passing the muddy street. It's a small village and it is 50 miles away from the big city Peking, and he reached a place where he had a chance to meet a craftsman working place. Leaving his servants, the minister dismounted from his horse and entered the ramshackle wooden workshop to admire the delicate pieces of ivory and jade that crammed the shelves from floor to ceiling. So he got down from the horse and reached that craftsman's working place. There it is described, the working place is described here. He entered there and it is ramshackle. It is very poorly maintained, bad condition of the working place, not at all maintained properly. And it is a wooden workshop, and he was admiring the delicate pieces of ivory. It is part of elephant, that is tusk, out of tusk of the elephant, the material which we take from the tusk of the elephant is called ivory. So the jade, and it is a valuable stone, green stone. So out of these two, jade and ivory statues were kept crammed in stuffed. It is stuffed like anything in the shelves from the floor to the ceiling. So the whole long shelf was filled with the statues which are made of ivory and jade. Although modern, the pieces were superbly executed by an experienced craftsman And the minister entered the little hut with the thought of acquiring a small memento of his journey. So he was roaming and watching and observing and admiring the art, and he just wanted to take a small memento just of his journey, that is a memory of his journey. Once in the shop, he could hardly move in any direction for fear of knocking something over. So the wooden shop was already, it is said that ramshackle. It is not maintained properly, and it is not made for such a tall person. And he was afraid of knocking something. Something will fall and be broken. The building had not been designed for a 6 foot 3 and a quarter visitor. Already I said he is a very tall person, and that wooden house is not made for such a. The roof is low and it is very small. So Alexander stood still and enthralled, taking in the fine scented jasmine smell that hung in the air. And here the writer is introducing here and there about the culture of the Chinese. The culture, they use jasmine flower to be scented in the room. So somewhere in the wooden working place, jasmine flower is hung there, and the scent of the jasmine flower is filling the room. He is fascinated with the smell of it. An old craftsman bustled toward in a long blue coolie robe and flat black hat to greet him. A jet black plait pigtail fell down his back. Again a culture. A man with a pigtail, black color, wearing a blue what you can say, that a coolie robe, a clothing which was blue in color, that is people who do the work in a workshop, they wear it. So he was wearing a blue color robe and having a pigtail. He bowed very low and then looked up at the giant from England. He bowed, he said, this is again a culture of Chinese, and he looked up at the minister Alexander. The minister returned the bow while the Mandarin explained who Sir Alexander was and his desire to be allowed to look at the work of the craftsman. So the interpreter and the guide was explaining to the craftsman who he is. And for over an hour, the minister sighed and chuckled as he studied many of the pieces with admiration and finally returned to the old man to praise his skill. So more than an hour he was looking all the beautiful pieces which are kept in that, and he was giggling and smiling and enjoying the art of that place, and came to that craftsman to praise him and his compliment. He wanted to tell him the compliment to him and how he is a skillful person. His skill is admired by him. The craftsman bowed once again, and his shy smile revealed no teeth but only genuine pleasure at Sir Alexander's compliments. So the craftsman was accepting all his compliments. He just smiled, nothing he said. Pointing a finger to the back of the shop, he beckoned the two important visitors to follow him. So he wanted these two people to follow him to some place. So he was just calling him by beckoning him by signal. He is telling him, and with a body gesture, he is calling them to follow him. They did so. So they just followed him and entered to the veritable Aladdin's cave. Veritable means truly, it's truly like an Aladdin's cave. with row upon row of beautiful miniature emperors and classical figures. There it was many rows of miniature picture emperors, that classical figures, the emperors figures were kept. The minister could have happily settled down in the orgy of ivory for at least a week. So he was filled with excitement. The original ivory statues are kept, and he wanted to stay there a week and enjoy it. Sir Alexander and the craftsman chatted away to each other through the interpreter. So Alexander didn't know the language. So through the interpreter, Alexander could express all his, and he was keep on talking to him, chatting with the little man, that craftsman. And the minister's love, and through the interpreter, and the minister's love and knowledge of the Ming dynasty was soon revealed. So while he was keep talking to him, he could understand that